TOBAM is a small group of 51 people. Amongst those 51 people, there are about 24 mathematicians and engineers, and together they form the research capabilities of TOBAM. A few of them got interested into a new mathematical object quite early. This new mathematical object was called two names at that time. First name was Bitcoin, the second name was blockchain. They decided to gather once a month into what was called at that time the TOBAM monthly Bitcoin dinner in order to share their respective experience in the domain. It's during one of those meetings in 2016 that I told my colleague that there is one characteristic of the Bitcoin which is improving year after year with a relatively low volatility. It's its liquidity. Between 2013 and 2016, the liquidity of the Bitcoin has been improved by a factor of 1,000. Not 1,000%, 100,000%. And I told my colleague, if this is going to continue, a day will come at which even the largest investors of TOBAM could be able to consider the Bitcoin as a potential investment. This is when we stopped looking at the Bitcoin from an individual point of view, but we considered the Bitcoin from a professional point of view. And we decided to invest into it. We formed a dedicated group of researchers called the TOBAM Bitcoin Research Project. And the first mission I gave this group was to write an investment thesis on the Bitcoin, trying to answer the question, why would a rational investor consider investing in the Bitcoin? After a few months of work, we were able to write a very articulate investment thesis on the Bitcoin. We presented this thesis to the French regulator, and after a very constructive discussion with the French regulator, they authorized us to launch the first open-ended fund invested in Bitcoin in the world. This was in November 2017. Since then, of course, we have continued our research and explored many dimensions of cryptos. Whenever I talk about the Bitcoin, I always start with two warnings. The first warning will consist into telling you that what I'm going to describe, the opinions I am going to tell you about, are only specific to the Bitcoin. Most of cryptocurrencies will have investment theses attached to them. But the one I am going to describe, the facts, the characteristics, and the opinions I'm going to tell you about are really specific to the Bitcoin. The chart that you see represents the price of the Bitcoin since we got interested into it. You see that there is some kind of a linear trend, a very risky linear trend. How come it is linear? It is simply that the scale is logarithmic. And when you have a linear trend in a logarithmic scale, this means, in fact, it's an exponential trend. The second warning is about the risk of the Bitcoin. The Bitcoin is a very risky asset. This is in a way the bad news. If you look at a 3 months volatility chart of the Bitcoin since 2013, you will see that it's the only one crossing very regularly the 100% volatility line. To give you a scale, even on the week of the bankruptcy, Lehman Brothers did not cross the 100% volatility line. The only way to understand really the risk of the Bitcoin is to own some Bitcoin very precisely, because from this point of view, it is the only one of its kind. But now I have a good news for you. The good news is that investors are risk takers. Why do I say it this way? Because if you think about it, investing $1 million in the S&P is much more risky than investing $25,000 in the Bitcoin. There is a sentence that I hear from time to time that doesn't make any sense. And the sentence is, the Bitcoin is too risky for me. If the Bitcoin is 3 times too risky for you, buy only 1/3 of it. If it's 100 times too risky for you, buy only 1% of it. The risk is not relevant whenever you are considering whether to invest or not. What is relevant is the investment thesis. The risk should be taken into account only in a second step, when you are about assessing the size of your investment. In the next episodes, I'm going to introduce to you what is TOBAM investment thesis on the Bitcoin.